Welcome to our Middle East briefing show. Today, we're diving into a significant move by the UN Security Council, which has approved a US-backed plan to establish an international stabilization force in Gaza. This effort aims to ensure security, oversee borders, and promote a pathway toward Palestinian statehood, all while supporting a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The resolution has garnered mixed reactions, with Russia abstaining and Hamas rejecting the plan, citing concerns over Palestinian rights. In other news, China's tech sector is just getting started. Driven by its rise as an AI superpower, Chinese tech stocks are bouncing back from lows and attracting global investors once again. With Chinese firms expanding overseas and leading in AI innovation, investment interest is surging, especially through Hong Kong IPOs. This trend highlights China's strategic focus on dominating future technologies and reshaping the global tech landscape. And finally, President Trump's recent Thanksgiving comment has stirred quite a buzz. He claimed grocery prices are 25% lower this year compared to Biden's administration, which many experts say isn't quite accurate. His use of the word surroundings instead of settings also confused some folks online. This amusing slip-up has sparked plenty of jokes, reminding us that even political figures can have holiday moments that go viral. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights. The South China Morning Post vividly reports the UN Security Council's historic decision to endorse a US-led plan for Gaza, envisioning a future of stability and potential Palestinian independence. The resolution, passing with a 13-0 vote, authorizes an international stabilization force tasked with overseeing borders, security, and demilitarization in Gaza, a region ravaged by years of conflict. This move is seen as a pivotal step towards cementing a fragile ceasefire and laying the groundwork for Gaza's reconstruction, with Arab and Muslim nations signaling their willingness to contribute troops, contingent upon UN approval. U.S. President Donald Trump enthusiastically celebrated the vote, emphasizing the establishment of a board of peace, led by himself, as a milestone in global peace efforts, despite Hamas's rejection of the resolution, citing it as a violation of Palestinian rights and sovereignty. CNN underscores the resolution's significance by highlighting its role in transforming a fragile ceasefire into a more sustainable peace process, with international legitimacy and support. The resolution authorizes the deployment of a diverse coalition of peacekeepers, many from Muslim-majority nations, under a unified command to secure Gaza, oversee demilitarization, and facilitate humanitarian aid. It also references a potential pathway to Palestinian statehood, contingent on reforms and redevelopment, which has infuriated Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who vehemently opposes any moves toward Palestinian independence, fearing it would bolster Hamas and threaten regional security. The resolution's vague language on sequencing and implementation raises questions about its practical application, especially regarding disarmament of Hamas and the withdrawal of Israeli forces, which is linked to milestones in Gaza's demilitarization process. The Independent emphasizes the broader geopolitical and humanitarian implications of the UN vote, illustrating the complex dance of diplomacy amid ongoing violence. The resolution, seen as a crucial step towards ending Israel's prolonged offensive and addressing the devastating toll on Palestinian civilians, over 69,000 killed, aims to establish a robust international presence that can help rebuild Gaza while disarming militant factions. Russia's rival proposal, advocating for a unified Palestinian state encompassing the West Bank and Gaza, underscores the deep divisions within the international community, with Moscow seeking stronger language supporting Palestinian sovereignty and stressing the importance of Security Council involvement. Despite the agreement, the path forward remains fraught with uncertainties, particularly around disarmament and the timeline for Israeli troop withdrawals, as global actors grapple with balancing security, sovereignty, and humanitarian needs in this volatile region. South China Morning Post highlights that China's tech stocks are still in the early stages of recovery, with the country emerging as a global AI superpower that is reshaping markets and attracting Western capital. Mark Fideny from JP Morgan emphasizes that international investors are increasingly reallocating funds to Chinese tech giants, driven by recent policy stimuli and technological breakthroughs, despite the lingering geopolitical and economic risks that kept allocations below pre-2015 levels. The Chinese market is catching up with U.S. peers, with a growing appetite from global funds, especially from the Middle East, Europe, and Southeast Asia, who see long-term value and diversification opportunities. Chinese entrepreneurs are shifting focus from domestic markets to building global businesses, often seeking early public listings in Hong Kong to access institutional and sovereign wealth capital. The momentum is expected to continue into 2026, with a surge in Hong Kong IPOs across sectors like AI, robotics, and software, underpinning China's role as a key driver of innovation and growth in Asia's capital markets. BBC reports that the UN Security Council has unanimously supported a US-drafted resolution endorsing Donald Trump's detailed 20-point plan for Gaza, which includes the deployment of an International Stabilization Force, ISF. This force, backed by multiple countries, aims to disarm armed groups like Hamas, protect civilians, and facilitate humanitarian aid, with Hamas strongly rejecting the plan, criticizing it for undermining Palestinian rights and neutrality. The resolution also proposes establishing a new Palestinian police force in Gaza and setting a trust fund for reconstruction, signaling a potential pathway toward Palestinian statehood amid ongoing conflict. The plan, which came into effect after a fragile ceasefire initiated on October 10, 2023, seeks to stabilize the region following the devastating violence that resulted in significant Palestinian casualties and hostages taken by Hamas. The resolution reflects international support for a comprehensive approach, although tensions remain high, especially with Israel's opposition to some aspects of the plan. The Washington Post reports that President Donald Trump has expressed his willingness to sign legislation imposing sanctions on Russia, provided he retains the ultimate decision-making authority. This potential move comes amid ongoing congressional efforts, led by Republican senators and representatives, to target countries engaging in business with Russia, particularly those purchasing its energy exports. Trump's recent remarks suggest a cautious openness to the legislation, which could advance in Congress if specific language is included to ensure he maintains control over sanctions decisions. Despite his preference for tariffs on Indian goods, the White House appears to be negotiating to include provisions that preserve presidential authority, emphasizing the importance of retaining his final say in such measures as part of broader negotiations concerning the Ukraine conflict and US-Russia relations. Meanwhile, Yahoo reports that President Trump faced ridicule over a peculiar gaffe during a Thanksgiving-related comment, where he claimed that grocery prices had dropped by about 25% under his leadership compared to the previous year. The odd choice of words, referring to surroundings instead of typical holiday fare, prompted widespread mockery on social media, with users joking about his apparent confusion or misstatement. Fact-checkers and economic experts have pointed out that grocery prices, including turkey and other holiday essentials, have actually increased slightly or remained stable, contradicting Trump's optimistic claim. This misstatement, combined with his recent assertions about lower food costs, highlights the ongoing challenge he faces in convincing the public of economic improvements amid rising inflation and recent disruptions like government shutdowns and tariffs. Associated Press reports on a tragic air ambulance crash in Philadelphia that resulted in the deaths of 8 individuals, including pediatrician Dr. Raul Meza Arredondo and Lizeth Murillo Osuna, a mother returning home to Mexico with her daughter. The lawsuit filed by their estates alleges negligence by the medical transport company, MedJets, SA de CV, and others involved in the plane's design, maintenance, and inspection. The crash, which occurred shortly after takeoff from Northeast Philadelphia Airport, devastated a neighborhood near Roosevelt Mall, with a massive explosion engulfing vehicles and homes, and leaving more than 20 injured. Investigators revealed that the plane's voice recorder was not functioning, and no distress calls were made, raising questions about the crew's actions. The lawsuit highlights the tragic consequences of potential lapses in safety and oversight in emergency medical flights, emphasizing the devastating impact on families and communities. Meanwhile, BBC uncovers the expansive reach of Chinese investments worldwide, focusing on a 2016 sale of Right USA, an insurer for CIA and FBI agents, to Fosun Group, a Chinese private company with close ties to Beijing. This transaction, backed by a $1.2 billion loan from Chinese state banks routed through offshore accounts, raised alarm in the U.S. over the security risks posed by Chinese state-backed capital flowing into sensitive sectors. AidData's extensive research reveals that since 2000, China has invested over $2.1 trillion abroad, strategically targeting advanced industries such as robotics, semiconductors, and artificial intelligence, aligning with Beijing's long-term national objectives. While these investments are legal, they often operate within complex offshore structures, raising concerns about the potential transfer of critical technologies and secrets. The report highlights how China's global economic strategy, driven by its massive banking system and government-controlled credit, has transformed the landscape of international investment, prompting Western nations to tighten scrutiny and rethink their approach to Chinese capital in both strategic and economic terms. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6 Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6 team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6 Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6 Brief via email.
Turn the lights on screen. What's the latest scene? Just you and me, laugh and disagree. On the couch we sit, talk about the hits, news and bits, chat through all the fits. 6 chats, gotta talk about that. Blind crazy chat, share where we're at. From the weather change to the world's big stage, everything's fair game under our spotlight's flame. Grab a coffee quick, get your hot takes thick. We're here to mix and pick, every topic's our flick. 6 chats, gotta talk about that. Like crazy chat, share where we're at. Grab a coffee quick, get your hot takes thick. We're here to mix and pick, every topic's our flick. 6 chats.